Hi, this is Mrs. McNulty, and this video deals with one way to create your final comp or comprehensive image for the shape portion of this project, the elements of art and the principles of design. We're going to use black squares for this portion and Photoshop. So using our design process, you've already made 12 thumbnails and picked 2 that you considered highly effective and made larger, tighter versions of them called roughs. Now you're going to use one of those to create your final comp. Okay, I've put several specifications on this project for a few reasons, such as to make the project move faster, because say for instance you could pick any shape you wanted to use. It would probably take longer to decide which shape to use, what color to use, so I've just narrowed it down for you to black squares, although it probably would be more creative the other way. This is just for the sake of time. Another reason that I put these specifications on the project is to get used to the idea of working with specifications, and because usually as a designer you will have certain things that you have to use or not use, so it's just something to get used to. All right, so here's my finished example, and I'm going to step you through how I created it. So the thumbnail I liked was one of my balance thumbnails, and I was specifically thinking about radio balance, which is where, if you imagine like a flower or a spokes on a wheel, there's sort of a center point, and then you have things radiating out from the center that are the same or very similar. So that's what I was thinking with this project. So let's go ahead and start a new document. So I'm going to say File, New. Okay, I'm going to come over here to, since this is often a document that I use, it has created this option for me. It's 8.5 wide and 11 high inches. The portrait orientation, 300 resolution, pixels per inch. It's RGB color. I pick 16, although 8 would be fine, and a white background. Okay. You can either title your file now, or you can wait till you save it. I'll go ahead and say 5-elements and principles -20. This one is going to be shape, and I've done one, so I think I'm going to call it version 2. And finished. Okay. So there's my document. The first thing I was thinking is I'm going to draw that square, the rectangle like we did before, or for the first one, for the line. Actually, before you draw, I do want to say this, kind of make sure that you are in, the black as your foreground, white as your background. Just makes it easier if you pick that kind of thing before you start. Make sure that shape is chosen. After you pick the rectangle tool, make sure shape is up in your options bar. No fill, stroke of maybe one pixel is fine. And then rather than trying to draw it out, perfectly, you can just type in what size you want it to be. So again, I did 7 inches. We don't want this chain link selected. So if it is, uncheck it. 7 inches. It will link those two together, so it's harder to pick the specific size that you want if the chain link is selected. Okay, so I want 7 by 7. Then go back up here to the move tool. kind of grab it on the edge, bring it over. I'm going to put it right in the middle of the page, and I know that because of both the magenta smart guides are showing up when I have it placed right there. Let go of my trackpad. So there's my first rectangle that I'm going to use for my, basically just for the outline of the square, you know, sort of the boundary that we've been working with. All right, so what I am thinking is if that's 7 inches and I wanted to have like a big square in the middle, a smaller square, and then an even smaller square, maybe about 2 inches would be good for that middle square. Okay, so I'm going to make a new layer to work on. I'm going to be in the rectangle tool, shape, no fill, stroke of 1, and you know, kind of down on my trackpad, drag out. I'm not, you know, I'm close to 2, but I'm not going to fool around with trying to get it to be exactly 2. I'll come up here and say 2 inches and 2 inches. I don't want any fill. I want a black outline. 1 pixel's fine. Okay. I'll go back to my move tool, and then I can move it right where I want it. I'm going to put it right in the middle. Now I do want to fill it in. So I'm going to go back up to my properties panel, choose black. You could either choose, you know, no stroke or, you know, or black stroke. I'm going to just say no stroke. All right, and that's all in the properties panel. Okay, so that's sort of my anchor in the center there. All right, now I'm going to come back to my rectangle tool again. I'm going to come up here, and on my next layer, I'll drag out a rectangle. Again, I'm not going to play around with how big it is. I'll come up to the properties window. This time I'm going to go with 1 inch. 1 inch. I want it to be filled in black. Again, I think I'll say no stroke. All right. Now, I am going to use a lot of this size box, so once I move it, make sure you don't have the double-ended arrows. Make sure it's the one big arrow like that. I'm going to bring it over here. I'm going to put it, you know, centered over that first box. Yeah, that's a good placement. What I can do with that box selected, you can tell because it has I'm on that layer and it has the sort of the bounding box around it, is say edit, copy, edit, paste. And it's going to make a box of the same size for me. And I can just drag it out here. I think what I'm going to do is something like, yeah, maybe like that. You can move them around afterwards, but I think that's kind of what I want to do for now. Okay. And then again, edit, copy, edit, paste. Gives me another of that same one. Now those magenta smart guides are really helping me. You know, it's kind of intuitively telling me where the middle of things are and knows that I'll probably want to line them up, so it's helping me out there, which is nice. Okay. Edit, copy, edit, paste. Another one, I'm going to bring this guy down here. It's telling me, it's giving me the same space in between these squares, lining them up for me. Okay. Now it's lining them up both vertically and horizontally for me. And this last one. All right. Okay, now I want to go to an even smaller size rectangle. So I could do it a couple different ways. Like I said, there's always a few different ways to do things in these programs, Photoshop and Illustrator. I could just copy and paste this. Let's try that way. Copy that same square again, move it up here, and then this time I could drag it down. I'm going to try to go with a 1/2 inch this time. Again, going to be hard, so I'll come over here to my properties. Oh, no, I think I'm going to stick with the way I was doing it. We will. So I think that's on the same layer. I'm going to have to throw that one away. All right, edit, copy, edit, paste. We can bring it up there. Let's go to draw a new one. I'm going to use my rectangle tool. Trying to get a 1/2 inch. Yeah, that's a better way to do it. Okay, so I want 0.5 inches. All right, good. Go back to my move tool. Again, it's a little tricky when it's this small. Make sure you have the move arrow. So I'm going to use my zoom tool, get a little closer. Okay, that's good. And again, it's telling me the space is the same, which I do want. It's right in the middle, so it's good. Edit, copy, edit, paste. Another one. So my idea was to put, sort of like a succession, of these squares. But then when I get over here, it's going to be a little bit different, but it's also going to be the same for each corner. So I'm going to add a little square on the outside of 2 sides of the corner square. So edit. Let's go over here. It looks about the same distance. Okay. So I'm just going to keep, doing this, make sure it's in the middle. I'm going to fill in all those spaces to make my idea. Okay. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to finish off those two. I want to finish this up so it doesn't drag out too long. You get the idea of what I'm going to do. I'm going to back out a little bit and then add some type in there on the top. And I'm going to say that this is the element of shape illustrating the principle of not just regular balance or symmetrical balance, but radial balance. And I think I was using 30-point type for that, which is going to be big. Come right into my text box. Okay, so then I'll move that around and you can add your name at the bottom. I hope this video helps. Bye-bye.